Hello apples and cherries and welcome to your first day of maths for this week. This week we are focusing on length and height. So as I said, this week we're focusing on length and height, and we were going to discuss this week the everyday language that we can use to do with length and height, and then we're going to use that to order and compare quantities and objects. So the layout this week is going to be very similar to last week, and I really hope you enjoyed the practical activities. I know that the children in my bubble last week really enjoyed using the flower and the moon rocks. We had flour everywhere in Cherry class. Okay, so on Monday, which is today, there's a video explaining what the focus is going to be this week and what we're going to do. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there is a document with 3 different activities that you can do in whatever order you choose. And then on Friday, there's a video quiz in order for you to recap and check what knowledge you have learned this week. There will also be an extra document with a paper copy of the quiz or different quiz questions so that you can challenge yourself with that as well if you would like to. So for the success criteria for this week, as I said, the focus of the week was to use everyday language to do with height and weight. So to be successful, you'll be able to use the words tall, short, and long. Some of you then may also be able to order objects from the shortest to the longest or the tallest. And then some of you may also be able to compare objects of different sizes in terms of their length or their height. So on the screen here, I've got different things that we can use to measure. So in reception, we focus on learning how to measure things first, and then when you go into year 1, you learn how to use a ruler or a measuring tool accurately. So I'm going to show you some of the things that we would use if we were in the classroom. The obvious one is a ruler. So we have them and they help us to draw straight lines, but they also have these measurements on. The ones in the classroom that we use a lot are called centimetres. Okay, so in school we would have a little go at seeing whether or not we could accurately measure an object and see how long it is in centimetres. There are other things that are similar to rulers, so you might get a tape measure. There are also, so this is one of the longer rulers that you can have, that are 30 centimetres long, but you can also get something called a metre ruler, and we use them to find out how tall we are, or how tall a door is, or how tall a building is. There are other things that we use in reception to help us understand length and height. So we may use our Unifix cubes and count how many cubes long an object is. Or we may use our measuring snakes, those jelly snakes that we order from the shortest to the longest. We might sometimes use our feet or our hands or our fingers. So these are ways of measuring things. They're just not as accurate as using a ruler, a tape measure or a metre ruler. But they are just as valuable for helping us learn about length and height. So this week, our main focus is to learn the language of height and length. And the word that we're going to see quite a lot is this word long. So long is something that is bigger. It's the bigger things. And instead of saying that an object is bigger, we can use the right mathematical word, which is long. So if you were to have a look at your fingers, you have one finger on your hand that is longer than all of the other fingers. So you could say that it's bigger, but if you wanted to be accurate, you could say that so I'm looking at my hand, my middle finger is longer than all my other fingers. So down here, this is an example of something that's long. This is a tablespoon. So this is a sort of spoon that you would use to eat your soup with. And if you have a look at the ruler down here, remember I said that the rulers that we use in school, they are measuring in centimetres. That's handy to know. So this ruler down here, this spoon goes all the way up to the number 13. So this is a tablespoon that is long. On this page, we have a different type of spoon. This is a teaspoon. This is what we'd use to eat our yogurts or to stir our sugar into our tea. And this teaspoon is on the ruler, which is measuring in centimetres, but it only comes up to the number 5, or in between the number 5 and the number 6. So this teaspoon is not long, this teaspoon is short. So you could say that this is a smaller spoon, but the accurate mathematical word is short. So the same as what we did on the other with the word long. Have a look on your hand and see if you can find your shortest finger. I think it will probably be your little finger. Okay, so instead of using the word small when we're talking about length, we need to use the word short. Now, length and height are very similar, but the best way to describe or to compare the two is that long is an object that you can pick up, and tall is something normally that goes upwards. So long is often you can put it on its side, and tall is often something that goes upwards. So examples of things that are tall, or that we would use the word tall for, is people, buildings, cars, doors, tables, things like that. Anything that goes upwards. It's hard to work out which one to use, whether to use long or tall, but as you go through the year you will work out which is the better term to use. So looking at this girl here, because she's a person, we wouldn't use a normal we wouldn't use a small ruler, we would use a meter ruler. So you don't need to know that, but it's helpful to know. So if we were to measure you, we would use a ruler that is a meter ruler. Okay, so this girl here, she's going up the ruler. She's quite high up the ruler, so she is tall. Tall. And similarly, just like with length, when we talk about height, the opposite to tall is short. So this is the same. This is a little girl here, and she's a lot shorter. And if you look at the ruler, she's not gone up as high in the numbers, so she is shorter. She is short. Okay, well done. So your task today is to find 5 different objects in your home. Work out which is the longest and which is the shortest. You may find some things that actually you don't want to compare them as the longest and the shortest. You might want to compare them as the tallest or the shortest. It's a really good conversation to have. What would I use, long or tall? Okay, luckily, the smaller ones of all of them are always called the shortest. Once you've got them, can you order them from the shortest to the longest or the tallest? And then what can you do in your home to check that you've got them in the right order? So you could put them up against each other and compare, but you could always use something else in your home to measure them. You don't have to have a ruler. You don't have to have a tape measure. You could find something in your home that is the same size. You've got lots of them that are the same size and compare them. So if you've got lots of Lego in your home, you might want to find some bricks that are the same size and put them next to your objects right at the beginning of the object, and then move it all the way to the end of the object and then count how many Lego bricks you have. And then compare. So one object might have 4 Lego bricks, but another object might have 8 Lego bricks. So the 8 Lego brick object would be the longest object. Okay, I hope you enjoy your activities this week, and I will speak to you on Friday for your quiz to find out how much you have learnt this week. Have a good week.